somebody's house near there.
If the program launches, our active name for the program, for the exploration, is the Town of Highlands Community Power Program. So as we work with each community has its own program name. And so the village is also exploring it, and the name of their program is Village of Highland Falls Community Power. But we're going to just focus on the content here for this exploration, with the Town of Highlands looking into launching this program. What I'll talk about tonight is what is this program? What is it based on? And the words that you see up on the slide in the first bullet, Community Choice Aggregation, that is the formal name of the program that the state enabled in 2016, which gives cities and towns and villages the power to create these programs, to explore them, to determine if it makes sense, and then if it makes sense, to launch a program. I'll talk about what it is, what that aggregation name means, and then I'll talk about the benefits of CCA. And CCA is one of the few acronyms I'll use tonight, and that is for Community Choice Aggregation. And then if the program moves forward, we'll explain who within the community would be affected by it. And then to understand it in detail, I use an Orange and Rockland bill, which is the vehicle that you would see the program through. This doesn't change anything in terms of your relationship with Orange and Rockland. This program, if it launches, is just a line item change on the Orange and Rockland bill. And then, assuming the program is going to move forward, if all things make sense, I'll talk about what the next steps are. And then I'll wrap up with a few slides of frequently asked questions. And happy to stop for clarifying questions or good points from the folks in the audience here too. So the very wordy slide to explain what it is, and I apologize for the bit of a dip off the slide there, but community choice aggregation, to explain the term, it is when communities get together, they aggregate to offer a new choice. And what we're focused on here is electricity supply. And so it is an energy purchase program, as the first bullet says, that was authorized by the Public Service Commission in 2016. That's when the state said that cities and towns and villages could act on behalf of their community members. In essence, what the program does, it just builds on things that individual utility customers could do for many, many decades in New York State. And that is designate electricity supply choice. This program is different. What happened in 2016 is that cities and towns and villages now have the ability to use an analogy to form a buying club for electricity supply. And just like a buying club like BJ's Wholesale or Costco, the idea is that by aggregating together, you have power, you have leverage in the marketplace, and therefore can negotiate a very good rate, a better rate than you could do as an individual. So that's one of the aspects that I'll talk about in the benefits, this idea of a better rate. So the second bullet is aggregating energy demand to negotiate that bulk purchase as I just described. And the way that you have that power, and this is one of the most surprising aspects of the program, by the design of the Public Service Commission, it is replacing an existing supply decision default, what the state determined in the 1990s in terms of the default condition for what your supply decision is, with one that is locally determined. So we're shifting the selection of the default on the electricity supplier from the state-mandated default program to one that an aggregation of local communities creates. It becomes the new default, the new opt-out program. So the last bullet, when it launches, if it launches, all energy customers are eligible to participate. Pretty much everyone in the community can take advantage of the program. A good number, often the majority of the community members, are automatically included and have to say if they don't want to be, or they have to choose to opt out when the program launches. And so we'll explain what this is and how it works a little bit more as we go forward. Now here's the promised view of an Orange and Rockland bill, which I find instructive for a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't spend a lot of time analyzing and dissecting their Orange and Rockland bill. And what many people don't realize is that your Orange and Rockland bill is actually really three bills in one, for three things that you are paying for automatically, a place where you have some decision, and another section where you could actually make a decision that could be an additional benefit. The first section is the delivery charges section. And this is a surprise to many people, this is the only section on the Orange and Rockland bill for electricity service, and it's similar for gas, but we're talking about just electricity for this program. But this is the only section of the Orange and Rockland bill that Orange and Rockland is allowed to make money on. So in the late 1990s, a lot of people don't know this, but the utility markets were deregulated. That means they were broken up and a market of opportunity was created for customers in the state. As a consequence of deregulation, utility companies, all of the utility companies in deregulated states like New York, they just became delivery companies. So they only can make money for being reliable deliverers of a product that they don't make. So they're no longer, because of deregulation, allowed to make the power. So all the line items shown in the delivery charges section are to pay for that service of getting the power to their customers from someone else who makes the power, the supply of the power, which is not their section. And what's shown in each of these sections is a number of line items. On each line item, I'll use my finger to point, the first column is the usage. The KWH stands for kilowatt hours, and that's however much electricity you use in a month. So this bill's month, this customer used 502 kilowatt hours, and the first two lines add up to 502. So every line has 502 kilowatt hours. The middle column of numbers is a rate, and that's a very important number, and I'll talk about what a rate is. The rate, you can see here by the symbol shown on the end, is cents. So this is actually not just cents, it's cents per kilowatt hour. So each line has a cent per kilowatt hour rate, and it gets multiplied by your usage to come out with just cents or dollars and cents in this last column. Each one of these line items in delivery, you multiply it, you add up the column, and this becomes your total delivery charges for this particular month. So Orange and Rockland earns $65.21 for delivery services for this particular example customer. And that doesn't change. They have the oversight of that role, and you can't replace them in that role. If this program launches, that won't change. Orange and Rockland will remain, all of the customers here in Highlands, the delivery company for those services. What could change is the line items in the supply section. So this is the electricity supply. This is not the delivery, how the power gets to you. This is how you pay for the creation of the electricity. So that's what supply means. When Orange and Rockland is making the decision for you, which is the state default condition, and that was established by deregulation. When the state deregulated the markets, they created a market opportunity where somebody could go into the marketplace and choose a supply source, some supplier or an energy supply company to be their supply source. But if they don't, the default situation is that Orange and Rockland will make that choice for you, and you know that they're doing that when you see 1, 2, 3 line items. Oops, yeah, I should have that closer, thank you. When you have 3 line items up in the supply charges section. So 1, 2, 3. Each one has a rate, each line item gets multiplied by the kilowatt hours for total supply charges, and this is the total sum of electricity supply charges. Orange and Rockland takes that $29.65 in this example, and then they send it to the suppliers, the energy supply companies that they happen to pick that month. Every month, the sum of the rates, these middle column numbers, which in this month add up to 5.906 cents per kilowatt hour, that will change every single month because Orange and Rockland is not allowed to fix a rate. Because they can't fix a rate, this is one of the reasons that this municipal program has a potential for an advantage in terms of supply rate. All right, so this is the supply section, and this is the part of the bill that can change if the program launches. And it does change if an individual customer gets into a supply contract of their own. And I'll show you what that looks like on the next slide. But one more section that I'll point out, just for clarification purposes, is this adjustments section of the bill on the far right, surrounded in purple on my slide here. This is the section of the bill where if somebody has solar on their home or business, have solar panels actually installed on their property, or if they do something called community solar, where they are a virtual owner of a portion of a field of solar panels that's in Orange and Rockland territory, they have the benefits shown in this section of the bill. So it's in the payments and adjustments section. So if this customer, which is not shown here, if they had a community solar subscription or were receiving credits for having solar on their home, there would be a negative charge, reducing their bill in this section. I put this here to point out that a solar benefit, solar panels on your home or business, or community solar subscription, is different than supply. It is a very different thing. It shows up in different ways on your bill. Supply is the rates that you have on your bill that gets multiplied by your usage each month for your total supply charges. It's a different thing than solar. So it means that you can have solar, or you can have a community solar subscription, and you still can make a decision that changes your supply, the supplier that's chosen for this section of the bill. All right, so what does it look like if somebody has a third-party supplier? If they make a decision to not have Orange and Rockland make their decision. Many people might know what this looks like already because people have done this. What it looks like is one simple line on the Orange and Rockland bill. So there's all the delivery charges above that green box, just as it looked similar on the previous slide. But then the way Orange and Rockland does it is, on this page, there's just the total supply charges. You don't even see the rate there. But in this particular month, $71.88 is the supply charge. And the way it works with Orange and Rockland, there's a separate page that shows you the rate and shows you the selected supplier, which is shown here. I just put a snapshot from the next page of this bill, and there's the $71.88. You can see here, this particular example, the rate is 5.7 cents per kilowatt hour, and that gets multiplied by the usage for those total supply charges. So that's the way it would work if the town moves forward with a CCA program. In essence, Highlands would be one of a number of communities that aggregate together to competitively pick a supplier that will give a fixed rate for electricity supply. And our focus, the reason I'm involved in this, and I'm the executive director of a nonprofit that's been working in the environmental field for a number of years, is because you can have a win-win scenario where we ask that supplier to give us a very competitive fixed rate for 100% renewable supply from New York State sources, which can be, and I'll show you that it has been working, it can be less than people pay for non-renewable sourced electricity. And it's all wrapped up when it launches in that single number right there. So the supply rate for the program on one single line item with this one single supply rate is everything that the program represents. There's no subscription fees, there's no other charges. Everything is wrapped up in there in the rate that the suppliers bid to be the supplier for the program. So that includes everything right there. So on this slide, I just kind of repeated the supply decisions that people have available to them. There are three choices, and I talk about these being my menu choices. Now picture this being a menu in a restaurant, like the appetizer section. You can pick one item typically when you go in from the appetizers, one from the entrees. So this is the electricity menu, this is the supply decision section. You can only pick one of these. Before a community considers or launches a CCA program, there are two choices. Let's cover that one up. So it's the top two choices that are available to utility customers in New York before a CCA program. There is the New York State determined default, which is the utility company makes the decision for their customers. But as I said, because of deregulation, anybody could choose to opt out of that and go into a contract in the open market with a third-party supply company, an ESCO. And many folks have tried this. Maybe people listening to this are even in one right now. Common companies that do this are like Green Mountain Energy, Ambit, Viridian. There's dozens and dozens of registered energy supply companies. So those are the two choices. Now, if a community launches a CCA program, they aggregate with other communities to competitively pick a supplier for a fixed rate. And for us, again, where the default choice is 100% renewable source electricity, it becomes a third choice. It becomes the new default choice, replacing number one. Number three, supplier choice, becomes a new default choice, which is a local determined default. And a majority of community members are automatically included in that. It is an additional choice. It does not take away the other two choices. Even though this is an opt-out program, where there's an automatic inclusion of people when it launches. Anybody could opt out of it at any time without any fee or penalty or hassle. And that's what my organization does when a program launches. We make it easy to get in or out of the program at any time. So anybody could opt out of the CCA and take advantage of the first two choices, which still exist. And so that's, in essence, how it works. So the benefits, it enables local decision-making. The original established program by the state is something where the utility makes a decision around supply without any input from anybody. They just go to the suppliers that they choose, and they choose the sourcing, renewable or not, based on their own decision-making. This program brings that decision-making power very, very close to home, local, where you're the community in which you live. You leverage this bulk buying strategy to get a very competitive rate, and you eliminate price volatility. What I show in this simplified graph of electricity rates comparison over time are the program fixed rate represented by the green flat line. So that's saying that the way it works is for an extended period of time, typically 2 to 3 years to date in the programs we're doing, the rate is absolutely the same every single month. So if this was cents per kilowatt hour in this graph and this was time on the bottom, the green line says this is our program rate. In an apples to oranges comparison, people want to know, well, how is your 100% fixed rate compared to what I would have otherwise paid to the utility? In a simplified form, that's what the dotted red line is. It's the fluctuating utility rate, which, as I said before, will change every single month. The idea of the program is that the average of that red line over time, we expect, and it has been shown in programs we're doing, will be higher than our fixed program rate. So not only is this taking out the volatility, we aim for this program to be actually financially beneficial. It's not guaranteed. You can see there's a very honest representation of the way it works, where there are some months, particularly the fall or the spring where electricity use is lower, that the utility rate can dip below the program rate, as shown on the far right and towards the beginning of the graph and right in the middle. So there is not a guaranteed savings, and that's something that's very important for people to know. But it does tend to work out because that when the usage goes up, when the demand is high, the utility rates tend to go high and the amount of usage goes high. So when you multiply those things together, that's when the overall cost savings benefit is really shown. So again, now down to the fourth bullet. For us and for the state, the reason they're doing this is because this does allow an acceleration towards more renewables being on the New York State grid. These communities aggregating together with this bulk demand is a very powerful mechanism to promote more renewables on the grid. And then the last bullet on this slide of benefits, it's not to be overlooked. And I've actually found in most of the conversations we've had that consumer protection element is the most important element of the program. There are numerous elements baked into the program that protect consumers in a number of different ways and make it easy for them to take advantage of what's available out in the marketplace. It is a fixed rate program for a fixed period of time, so there's no uncertainty. People can use this as an alternative to considering entering into their own contracts. There is no restriction, there's no contract in this. And so there's no need to look for the fine print to see if there's funny charges or any kind of restrictions. And there's no ability for this thing to turn variable and balloon in terms of rate. This is a transparent, fixed rate, flat program. And so what we've discovered in our conversations is that a number of people in that private marketplace, a number of people have had bad experiences. And this is a significant reason that the state promoted this program, was a way to have your community leaders work with an administrator that they choose to vet the opportunity, to make it simple and easy, to take advantage of the marketplace, to potentially save money, but to absolutely save money in promoting renewables. So it's a win-win-win scenario in that regard. So how are we doing? So now my graph on the previous slide was theoretical. This slide is not theoretical. This is how a program that we've been part of since November 2020 here in the Hudson Valley has been doing. There's a number of rates shown on this graph. It's a little confusing, but I'm going to walk you through it really quickly. The two lines that are straight and flat on the bottom, the purple line on the very bottom and the green line above it, are the program rates for an aggregation of the 6 communities shown on the left. And those are all 6 communities. They're all in Rockland County. And the name of that partnership program, that aggregation, is Rockland Community Power. So those communities, they don't have their own individual program names. The way we did it when we launched that program is we had a partnership program name and they were part of it. So that was the aggregation of communities that went out and said to suppliers, give us a fixed rate. We want a default 100% renewable rate. That's the green line. It's about 7.2 cents per kilowatt hour. And then the communities also said, well, could we also have a non-100% renewable fixed rate in the program? So our community members may not want to opt out of the program. They might want to stay in, but maybe they want to focus on saving a little bit more money and not going with 100% renewable. So that's what the purple line is. That's a decision that communities can choose to have as part of their program. But those are our 2 program rates, the 2 flat lines on the bottom. The red flat line is what I calculated back in November 2020 as what an individual customer taking advantage of choice number 2 in my menu slide, going into a private third-party contract for a sourcing mix that was equivalent to the green line. So if an individual customer wanted to find a 100% renewable fixed rate for this 2-year period of this contract, back then it was over 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So when I said before, when customers are doing a comparison between the program 100% renewable rate and the utility rate, you might recall I said that was an apples to oranges comparison in terms of sourcing, because our program is a green apple, if you will. It's 100% renewable green power. And the utility rate is predominantly non-renewable. So that's the orange in that case. In an apples to apples comparison to see how this program can be an advantage in terms of 100% renewable, that's the green line versus the red line. And you can see that this is the buying club analogy here, that the community aggregating together on behalf of its community members, it's about a 2-cent benefit in terms of cents per kilowatt hour versus what an individual could get at best. So clear benefit there. Back to the apples to oranges comparison, the utility rate is that orangish yellow line. That's the orange and Rockland rate for each of the months so far since we launched the program in November 2020. And you can see, as I indicated, it fluctuates every single month. When we started the program, coincidentally, the utility rate was right about at our non-renewable fixed rate, just about 6.5 cents. But then it continued to climb. To see the average, I calculated that as the blue line. So the blue line that has less variation but continues to climb up to the right, that is the average of the orange line, of the utility rate. And you can see that it kept climbing, and then by April 2021, the average of the utility rate matched our program 100% renewable rate and then just kept climbing. To the point where now, as of May 2022, the month that we're in right now, it's well above. It's about 8.5 cents compared to our utility, our 100% renewable rate. So showing that the win-win in terms of the program benefit is something that has borne out to be true. And the same is true in another program they're part of. So if a program moves forward, if it launches, will it affect me? Generally, everyone, if you're remember the menu slide that I talked about, everyone who is in choice number 1 would automatically be included in the program except for these exceptions here. So everyone who is in the original state default is automatically included when a program launches, except for, well, the first bullet is people in choice 2 on the menu. So if you have a third-party supply arrangement in place already, you're automatically excluded from the program. You're opted out before the program even begins. Those customers might want to join our program rate if the program launches, and they can do so. You know, as I said before, this is available to anyone in the community. They just have to make sure there's no prohibitive penalties or fees for doing so, or wait till their contract ends, and then they can just contact us to join the program at the same fixed rate as when it launched. The second bullet is for large customers, customers that are billed based on demands. And that is a demand meter is a large electric utility customer. And so the utility companies charge a demand charge. They tend to give them slightly advantageous rates, but for having a standing demand charge. Because that rate can be better than our program rate, because they're paying a standing fixed charge, which is not insignificant, they're not automatically included. They can join if they want to, and many customers, large scale customers, like school systems, libraries can be in this category, churches, depending on their usage, they could be in that category, others may not be. But if they have a demand meter, that's what we're here. We can help them evaluate whether it makes sense to join the program, and many do that. But they're not automatically included. The third bullet exception is if someone has put a block on their account. They've called up the utility company, and for one reason or another, often because they've had a bad experience in that private ESCO marketplace, and they've said to the Orange and Rockland or Central Hudson or another company, hey, block my account. I don't want anything to change without my knowledge. Anyone with a freeze or a block on their account are automatically excluded as well. So if someone is opposed to our program before it launches, that's a mechanism by which you can prevent any change from happening. The final exception from the groups automatically being included in that first category is if someone is in the Home Energy Assistance Program, HEAP program, which is a bill subsidy payment program. Because our program rate is that the comparison of our fixed rate to the fluctuating utility rate, because it is not a guaranteed savings, it was deemed appropriate that folks in bill pay assistance programs not automatically be included. But everyone else would automatically be included, typically in that first category. So if the program moves forward, and it's a decision that the town of Highlands and the other communities that are part of this potential aggregation are going to determine based on conversations with Jewel, the organization they've chosen to be their administrator, and my nonprofit, Hudson Valley Energy. I failed to do that introduction at the top. They're the team that's going to work with the communities to determine if it makes sense to proceed to the competitive bid, the request for proposals. If it does, and it's very possible that it will, and we get a fixed rate that's appealing and the community moves forward, every community member who is going to be automatically included will receive what we call the welcome or an opt-out letter, and that will happen in late summer of 2022. It starts, as shown in the second bullet, a 30-day period that goes into the fall of an opt-out period. And that's a period where if you are included in the program but you don't want anything to change, you want to stay in that original menu decision choice, you can contact us any one of several ways, and you can be excluded from the program. So, but anybody can opt out of the program at any time. Anyone who stays in the program, they go with the selected default supply choice that the community has made, and then the transition onto the bill, that replacement of 3 line items with 1, happens in fall 2022 with a new supplier identified on the Orange and Rockland bill. So now visiting the FAQs. These are the common questions that we get asked. Does this program replace my utility company? And that's where I focused on how the delivery charges section never changes, and that's Orange and Rockland's role, so no, that does not change. You still only pay your Orange and Rockland bill if this program launches, and the delivery charges remain Orange and Rockland's purview. Does this impact the reliability of my electricity? This is a good time for people to understand that if this program launches and you are paying for, through the program, exclusively 100% renewable supply from New York State sources, it does not mean that you are only getting your electrons from a solar field or a wind turbine or a hydropower plant, which are the 3 types of energy that we allow as renewable power through our program, the only 3. Those are on the New York State grid, but everyone still draws their electricity, their electrons, to power their homes and equipment from the big pool that is the New York State grid. And that is overseen by the utility companies, and over them, the New York Independent System Operator, basically watchdogs, to make sure that the grid operates reliably. And they watch how much renewable comes on at any one time. And while our program does a fantastic thing of putting more demand and changing the proportion towards increased amount of renewables, it is still overseen and watched over very reliably, so that the answer to this is no. There is no impact on the reliability of electricity delivered to your home, whether you're in the program or not. Will the program save me money? We've shown on that chart for our existing programs that it is doing a fabulous job of saving participants money, but it is not guaranteed. And there were times, as you saw on those charts, that the utility rate can be lower. But what the beauty of this program is that our team remains in the community. We keep track. We do that tracking of a graph. The information is there for people to make informed decisions, and they can revel in the savings if it's happened. And if it happens to be a dip time and they're concerned about what might happen in the future, they can opt out at any time. So also, if they want to change their supply choice, if there's more than one supply rate available, or if they want to opt out and go take advantage of the private marketplace, that's the second bullet. What if I want to change my supply choice? They can do so at any time. They can do it themselves on the portal that we set up online, or they can do it by calling us or by seeing us in person. I think we're returning to that type of world. And it's very easy. We make it very easy to opt in or opt out of the program or to change your rate choice. And then my last frequently asked questions. Do I have to stay in this program the entire time? The community members, if the program launches, are not in a contract. So there is no restriction on this program at all. They can opt in or opt out and stay out whenever they want, or they can take advantage of it for the full duration. So no, they do not have to stay in. Can I participate if I have my own solar panels or if I participate in community solar? And that's when I took that diversion on the description of the utility bill to point out that the supply rates live in the supply charges section, and the benefits of community solar or solar panels live up in that payments and adjustments section. Two separate parts of the bill, two separate decisions, two separate financial transactions, two very cool ways that you can actually have influence on the amount of renewables on the New York State grid, but they are non-exclusive from each other. So you can do both. You can mix and match those decisions in any way you want. So the answer is yes, you can. If you have solar or a subscription, you can do the program. And then what happens after the program ends? This question usually stems from people who have some familiarity with the private ESCO markets, where they're in a contract that they hear is fixed for a period, and then they're concerned that there's a fixed period and it ends and that it's going to turn variable. As part of the consumer protection element of the program, it is a fixed rate, fixed period of time, typically 2 or 3 years, and when that 2 or 3 year period ends, the communities can renew the program. They can go out to bid again for a new supply rate, as communities have done here in New York, and it can be a seamless transition from one fixed rate to another. But if they don't, if a community decides not to renew, no one has to make a decision. Simplicity and consumer protection is the name of the game for this program. So if a program ends, no one has to do anything. They automatically go from the new default decision, that ends, so everyone returns to the original state-mandated default position of the utility company making their supply rate decision. And so simplicity without having to burden customers to reap the benefit of what's available in the marketplace. That's what this is about. And I thank you for your time. Any questions from the audience? Yes?
Well, as far as the businesses, so this is not just for residential customers.
Absolutely right.
It's open to businesses.
Definitely, yes.
But the only thing is that you might have to do a little extra setup if you have an on-demand meter?
Nope, it's residential. It's like by service class. So most businesses are small businesses. You know, it's usually like commercial of a significant size. Like, you know, as I mentioned, schools, you know, large institutions that have like lots of lights or lots of power equipment or heating equipment. Those tend to be demand charges. Most small businesses, like the ones on Main Street, I'd be surprised if any of the businesses on Main Street had a demand meter.
Well, pizza parlor, they
got more, but still.
They gotta use a lot of electricity.
They do, but I bet you they still fall into the service class that would automatically be included.
Well, and you know what's very strange? I have a detached garage, and I have an on-demand meter. I uncharge the demand charge if I plug in my electric car.
It's amazing. You know, I keep saying that this work I've been doing, I've been joking that the acronym that applies, like people talk about English as a second language. I keep saying this is energy as a second language. So it is amazing. I keep learning different iterations of what happens. So.
And I can't charge my car at home, even though I bought a charger.
All right, well, we can dig into that. Look, that's the cool thing about this program is that I'm here to help kind of parse this through and see what's going on there and see if we can change that. Any other questions?
Is there any member of the community, I guess more commercial-wise, that does not benefit from this program or cannot benefit?
Well, it depends on the rate comparisons. So like those demand meter customers I talked about, they have a standing demand charge. And so, so we need to look at not just a comparison of their rate. When we look to see if it makes sense for them to basically skip from the utility making the decision to be in the program, we look at the blended number. We look at what the demand charge is kind of coupled with to create sort of a blended rate for the comparison. And it's possible that some of the larger utility account users will be better off staying where they are. So, but that's for us to help them figure that out.
Town government too, I mean, like streetlight costs or running a municipality building like the town hall here. What about,
Yep, and they've commonly been the main decision makers that decide to be, either they're automatically included, or if they are a larger customer, like for a wastewater treatment plant that might be municipal, they often jump in too, if it makes sense. It's been happening tons with the utility rates being what they are.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, so again, that's really emphasizing too. So, should have said this at the top, but this is not something the town, it can take advantage of this, but it's not something it's doing for itself. It's doing it for the community members. When there's they're not paying charge. There's no out-of-pocket fee too. It's really important. I should have said that too, for the town to do this program. So no tax dollars are diverted to pay for this program. Yeah. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you at home. Thanks.
Again, for everybody at home, if you missed any of the information, you can go to the Town of Highlands website, highlands-newyork.gov. We have a CCA website section with some of the basic information that you heard tonight. Definitely reach out. There's an email there. If you couldn't see it here tonight, you can find out and reach out to either me or Jeff. And if you want more information about this program to come, again, access the Town of Highlands website, and you'll see a box for CCA. And that information is posted.
And our program website is tiny now, but it's there, jewelcommunitypower.com/HighlandsTown. So another website.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Jeff, very much. We'll see you at 7 o'clock for the board meeting. Thank you.
Let loose the profanities. Thank you, guys.
Do you say at the end of them that that's a wrap?
Trying to make it as concise as possible for my very
Well,
experienced
you are
audience.
tightening things up, definitely. That was like 40 minutes.
I felt for you guys.
Do you, sometimes you get like deja vu and you think like, wait, I already said this, when I say this?
Yeah,
You've
because
done
you've said it so many
times.
times. Yeah, well, it's good.
Well, it's just when the program launches,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna see people coming out of the woodworks, if anybody even looks at their electric bill. And then it's gonna be, like you said, we walked around in the day, you did pretty well in town too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And every place we walked into, nobody even knew what the hell's going on. What? Never even heard of it,
Yeah.
so.
And
How
it's
is it with the village? Is the village signed on to this yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going forward.
Oh,
Yeah, he did an in-person meeting last week.
Oh, great, okay,
Yeah.
very good, very good.
Kicking and screaming.
Well, it's kind of hard selling for half the town.
Yeah.
I know, I wouldn't get it.
Made it good and confusing that way. We have that with Redwood and with Rhinebeck's getting ready to go, the town of Rhinebeck soon, the village is not, and Saugerties, the town did it first, now the village is finally going, but yeah, there's a lot of like.
That's so hard. We have to do everything twice.
1, 2. Check. Audio. Do I see a level over here? 1, 2. 1. 1, 2, 3. Yep.
And he gave a plug at the end of the meeting, at the end of the board meeting. So, I've got 4 new copies. So, I don't know.
projector is powered down.
If I get you.
Well, you got this time down with science, don't you?
I feel bad for my audience members who've seen this now. I feel like it's many times I've given it.
Well, right now, I have to stand for the I'm going to be, the chambers having
Bring up the agenda.
So I told.
Did I print out the agenda? Yes, of course I did. Where is it?
Give an
Down like
update,
that.
because one of the chamber members departed.
Oh, I sent you that email, I said I didn't understand.
So
Oh, all right. I didn't see it. I was
Comfortable with
canceling my
engaging
flight.
another one, like maybe Bob's restaurant wants to participate.
the alternative is so good.
Oh, nice, yeah. Delta only took $100 for
Not a lot of.
privilege.
Express left over
Well,
from that.
I booked the basic cinema wing.
Well,
It's funny,
well,
I booked it, I'm
you
like,
can scrape the place.
somehow this is like, nothing ever did.
But anyway,
Delta sort of like the same
so,
thing
you know, I think it's
sometimes.
sorry.
You know, actually, they haven't been bad.
That's good.
It's a scale-up process.
My brother's a
See
Delta.
how much you handle, see how much.
My dad.
I did leave on my desk. I got mine, I got one here. What, do you want to see what's on it?
No, it's, I have a new note-taking system. So I take notes on the agenda and I'm keeping a file of it. I don't know why, I'm trying to be organized, just in case I
Well, what
say
I do,
something.
what I do now is, whatever's brought up at the meeting stays in this folder, it gets folded with, you know. If I have something, yeah,
Every other
right.
month, and that's.
Ay, ay, ay.
You remember the old Saturday Night Live skit from the earliest days with Gilda Radner and all those? They did this like their fake commercials.
Oh, hell yeah.
I forget the name of the airline. Remember they did one for an airline? And they were
But
like,
I,
something,
you know, I
airline.
wanted
You
to
feel like you
I
never
wanted
left the
to-
ground because we treat them like dirt.
As long as I can just have one restaurant.
Buddy of mine, the retired US Air pilot,
My
his saying was, you know, US Air's motto, we're not happy
Well, I.
unless you're unhappy.
It's a
You get family flight benefits?
Nothing. I get nothing. Like a brother of a pilot?
Nothing.
I think, matter of fact, I get, it's just like a thing. I get like treated like horse in the back.
But I'm breaking them down.
I tried it once and it's like,
I don't get any
A
of
whole
it.
oak tree
Started
started
with
years
my
ago.
biological father.
Yeah.
I was adopted by my stepfather, so I have a
That's
stepfather.
what I've had to.
But all my
Take
half brothers and sisters who are
children.
his children, still, even though my dad's been gone since '09, bio dad. Yeah, no, they still.
Parents and children.
Yes.
Parents and children treat you well. Brothers, nope.
Shit, done, nothing.
Like, what do they get out of this?
Bag them, bring them there, and
Where's
mulch,
the advantage?
and Howard's mountain.
All those times I put up with him?
It's a lot of work.
Bastards.
It's a lot of work. Let's see.
Sorry about the turnout.
I don't know. I take responsibility for that too, man. Glad you filmed it though, thank you for that.
He
Oh.
is doing it, and now it's done this way.
Got all my stand-ups on there,
I just.
let's get rid of it.
Thing, we're not on, I don't, we weren't on, I guess. Got it? Okay. Sorry, you might want to. Tribute to Dave Love again, sorry.
That's all right. I'm sure Dave will mind. Is there any public comment? Oh, wait, I take it back. I would
Restart.
like to, where's my glasses? There they are. I'd like to ask for a motion to open a public hearing on the franchise agreement with Charter Communications.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any public comment on the franchise agreement with Charter Communications? Being no public comment, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried, thank you. Now, is there any public comment on agenda items? All you public out there? No? Okay. Just prior to this meeting, I'm gonna wander a little bit here. Just prior to this meeting, I would like Councilman DeWitt to tell the audience what went on.
Oh, yeah, we had Jeff Demansky from the CCA regarding the program with the town and village. It's the Community Choice Aggregate. It's a energy buying, it's about buying energy the community signs in. Jeff Demansky gave another public presentation tonight. We got a few more coming up, Zoom meetings. And again, this is about renewable energy. The town and village have agreed to go along with it, and people will be automatically on it. You're going to be able to opt in and out without charge or cause as often as you would like if you're not interested. But we've been trying to get a lot of information out about the program so people aren't surprised this fall when it comes on board. There's a Zoom information meeting coming up on Tuesday, June 7th and Wednesday, June 15th. Please go to highlands-newyork.gov. There's a CCA section on the Town of Highlands website with that information on it. But highly recommend people. It looks like a great opportunity to not only take advantage of renewable energy, but hopefully save money, and especially in this climate where we're seeing energy costs skyrocketing. Every little bit will help. So if you have want any more information, again, go to the Town of Highlands website. There's links available, questions to Jeff Demansky. His email is on there. Feel free. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I have the minutes of the May 9th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, thank you. Communications. Let me start from the beginning. I received an email from a Dmitry Grinberg from the Department of Transportation, dated December the 8th, 2021. They continue to do everything in its power to expedite repairs to the 9W Bridge over the Popolopan Creek. Unfortunately, the fabrication and delivery of materials for repairs has been continually delayed, and they are now expected to arrive at the job sometime this winter. Construction on the project is expected to resume in the spring, weather permitting. Meanwhile, the bridge will remain open with one southbound lane closed to traffic. We appreciate the public's patience as we continue this important project. Okay, that was the 8th of December. Everybody knows what's going on down there, which is nothing. Other than creating an extremely dangerous situation where you've got two lanes of traffic now, and when trucks are passing each other, they are passing within inches. I sent a letter to this Dmitry Grinberg, and I copied our assemblyman and our senator. And my letter, I'd like to read it to you because I don't usually write letters that are not nice. Does anyone know what's going on with the repairs to Popolopan Bridge? Part of the bridge has been closed for about 2 years, and now half of the lanes are closed, creating a very hazardous situation on the bridge. No work is being done. Occasionally, I see some workers standing around with apparently nothing to do. This bridge is in my backyard, so I see the non-action daily. The project is totally ridiculous and needs to be given to a company capable of doing the repairs, if repairs are even necessary. Please investigate and let me know what's going on. Embarrassing is to say the least. I received a reply to this the same day from Colin Schmidt. I've had conversations with DOT on it recently. They are supposed to give me a tour of the situation in the next few weeks. Would you like to join? I answered him very quickly back in the same day, absolutely. So that's where we are with Popple Open Bridge. It's no secret from this end that people in town are upset with it. I'm upset with it, and I'm sure the rest of the board members are. This is just totally ridiculous what's going on. I don't know what these magic parts are that they have to get. I do understand what's wrong with the bridge. The one side is lifting up. Obviously, they got tons of material on top of it holding it down. But that's not an excuse. Something's got to be done.
The company doing that is called Harrison and Burroughs. About a month and a half ago, they mobilized at the old trading post, and the project manager called me. His name is Jason Hogan. And he asked me if I wanted to go to work down there, and the answer was no, I was working somewhere else. So they went down, the chief can't listen to this. I climbed underneath about a month ago and took some pictures and put on social media. So one bit at a time, they're taking pieces out that were riveted in back in 1935 and piecing it back in. There's no machine there, there's nobody on the job. There's 200,000 pounds of barrier piled up, so it won't pop a wheelie. I don't know where they went. I'm not sure. They definitely started. It was all handwork underneath, but there's nothing happening now. I don't know what happened, so.
So it is what it is. There's, the only thing we can do is what I just did, notify our state representatives and see where they go with it. I did receive a message on my phone today from, it wasn't Dimitri, it was someone else from DOT, asking me to call him back about Popple Open Bridge. So I'll see where that goes.
Sir,
Sir.
I got a phone call this morning. We had another sideswipe accident at that area there. Sideswipe car fled. So,
Wow.
you know,
Good.
flying through there. Bouncing off-
So there's been more than that. There's been a few of them? All right. Financial reports, I don't have one on this agenda. I don't think I got anything, did I?
Until next week.
Next week, okay. And board liaison reports, Councilman Sullivan.
Thank you.
Rich, put your
Sir.
mic up. I don't know, is your mic up?
My way?
Listen to me anyway.
You know, it's funny, I've had people say the same thing, that they didn't want to listen to you.
They won't after this.
Would you also speak on diamond mapping?
Okay, so I was to save that for the last. So I have a lot of things to talk about. Our engineer about a month ago talked about this site called Diamond Maps. And out in, I think it's in Seattle, Washington, where they're based at, there's these GIS guys that did it for a long time. And they developed a software which is sort of like AutoCAD. It's sort of like you can use your phone. And they work mostly, they have 700 municipalities that they use. And for $20 a month or $40 a month, I haven't gotten that far yet to figure out which is best for us. You can have it to where, for example, on 21 Bridge Terrace last week, there was a water service that's been in for 15 years. Nobody could find it. So they had to dig another one and go into that. That's Hildegard Willis's old house. They had to dig another one and go in. So while I was there, I had my phone with the diamond maps. With no extra equipment, you can be accurate to within about 6 feet. I took pictures, stored the data, and anybody can do this. You can create layers, whether it be Kelly wants to put something in there. So as people do things, and you wonder where's all our data at, responsible, authorized users can enter data. For someone like Pat to be able to retrieve something, it's golden. And the company I work for, every foreman has a GPS accurate to a centimeter. They're about 10 grand. This diamond maps, if you buy this one attachment, it's called an Arrow 100, you can be accurate to within about a meter for any 3 dimensions. Not saying we need that now, but we're just all over the place. So our water system is new, and they couldn't find the service because there was one there installed all those years, 15 years ago. Stuff like that we can avert and map it so that we have it. If you ask for a map made by whether it was Fulchetti Engineering and whatnot, he had 7 different proposals when he was here, and I forget which number we chose. All 7 of them still exist in our files. So sometimes people aren't really sure which one is accurate. So with Diamond Maps for $20 a month, I think it's well worth it. What I'm not sure of is if you can have unlimited portals for $40 a month. I don't know that that's the best way to go, rather than having one portal and have layers managed by that administrator. So the planning board might have a layer, even Justin might have a layer, whatever. So for the $20 a month, you can have people adding data to it, and you don't want it to be frivolous data, but it's very easy to use. And I didn't have a chance to send it out to everybody. I made a video of some of my work. I have 14 days left, so at the next meeting, we can decide. I'll send it out to everybody, and if you think it's a good idea for the $20 a month, I think it's excellent. And if you take a picture, say there's a layer called water valves, water repairs, etc., and so on, you can filter it. So if you want to know how many of a certain type of meter you have, like Edmunds does and whatnot, you can put a filter in there, and you have a map right in front of you showing where every cellular meter is at, or where every radio meter is at and whatnot. And I'm going to get to it in a little bit with my water report. Just this week, there's been some meters being installed. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to say any names, there's one customer that's been on since the beginning that has never had a meter read, yet they've been using since the beginning of the water system. That's what we're dealing with out there. So little by little, so Edmunds, my computer was taken out of downstairs. I don't have any use of it. With Diamond Maps, it's easy for everybody to use, and I think it'd be a good idea. And you don't need any equipment. You can use an iPhone, an iPad. You don't need any equipment. They take care of that for you.
Well, would you like to make a motion that we entered into the Diamond Map program for $20 a month?
I would like to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
Thank you.
Kelly, you can figure out where we're going to get our $240. Okay.
Should I continue?
Continue.
Okay. All right.
It's easy, wasn't it?
So far.
Yeah, okay.
The zoning board of appeals, they met last Wednesday, not here, remotely. They had an area variance in Highland Falls that was not subject to the moratorium, which they set a public hearing for next month. I saw an email floating around where something had to be upgraded on an application, but that's a go. They are going to have a public hearing next month. I think they're going to try and keep it remote rather than here. So the next meeting, I'll let everybody know where that's going to be. Planning. Justin's got to close his ears on this one. So they were not scheduled to meet, but last Monday, the village board granted a waiver for a rendering submitted to them, which I don't know, it was actually a site plan, and I don't care. That's not my point. But it was enough for the village board to grant the waiver. So with no time for a professional review, and the planning board is excellent, Mr. McConey was allowed to present for 45 minutes. And from Monday to Thursday, from his submission, there was something on there that required a variance. So he redid it before the planning board meeting, or was doing it on the fly actually, so this variance wouldn't be required. So here they are, they have this stuff to review, and they're doing this at a meeting. I'll make my point in a moment. So that project is nonetheless moving forward. That's 3341 Main Street, the church. And when I talked to him, I told him, I said, we're all on board trying to help you. The building department is down there. That's where the submissions go, and we will give you process. And when this is all done, when everybody's done cutting their ribbons and everything else, there are those of us charged with things like, does the seeker review hold up when people file lawsuits and whatnot? And we will get it right. And anybody out there that wants to look up right now about the Village of Wappinger Falls Police Department, they were dissolved in 2018, and it didn't last because they didn't do a proper seeker review in court. And so these are the things that we're trying to get right. Mr. McConey is getting Mr. Minicozy is getting good service, and if Justin wants to add anything to that later on, but it was a very good meeting. They're very accommodating, and they try and get it right, and I try and help them to do that. On the sewer plant. On May the 12th, JCO Environmental Services came to the plant for a workup On optimal plant operation, there's been some reports of odor down there. They generated a report, which I mailed out to everybody about 2 hours ago. You probably didn't have a chance to look at it. It's a 5-page report. They are a private organization that can come in and either run your plant or optimize the running of it. I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk with Jimmy yet. Probably gonna have a heart attack, but we'll do that and move forward with, because there's been some odor controls down there. At least I'm honest anyway. Water, so we just talked about the diamond maps. That's good. The master meter, which is at the, what's that called? That trailer park, West Point Trailer Park, I think they used to call it, the Village Line. So I was there, and the way this went down is there's an organization we pay dues to called New York Rural Water Association. And paying dues invites them to come out and help you analyze your system if you're having trouble. I was a bit tough on the guys. They're good guys. I was a bit tough on them because I'm kind of annoyed at what's going on with chasing all these water problems. So in short, when they do a check on the pipes, there's 3 meters there. When they do a check, they didn't separate it and go through a separate connection through 1 meter. They put these, I'll call them inductive, they're ultrasonic devices that go on top. You have to know the wall thickness of the pipe, you have to clean the pipe, you have to know it's ductile iron, you have to know there's air in the pipe. And what it does is ultrasound to measure the velocity of water, and it calculates it and turns it into a number. With the error that we have, I want to be darn sure that we're right, and I wasn't convinced by that test, although everybody tells me I'm a dinosaur. But we have a water system that has some unaccounted water for us, so I am not going to relent on that. So I didn't have a chance to send out the pictures of that yet, and I mentioned that Pat installed several new meters, and one of them was a little bit of a surprise. On the building department, been a ton of complaints about property maintenance over the last few days. Phil's on it. He's called O'Rourke to have the guy come over and help him and do with any complaints that he can't handle. I guess, like if people are watching, just like, cut your grass, please. So that's it for him. The Citizen Environmental Advisory Committee met here on Friday the 13th. Olga and I were here alone. We Zoomed with, let me get her name right, Olivia Ainer. Did I say her name right? Olivia Ainer of Waste Food Solutions, and Kat Westerfield, who's a teacher up at the high school. The main subject being composting bins, and if Olga wants to add to that later, she can. And we were going to discuss the EV charging station, but it's done. We voted on it, so that's a done deal, that one. The Community Choice Aggregation, they met at the Village last week before their meeting. They met here tonight. I think Joey and a few other people mentioned there's a lot of people out there that don't know. My God, it's been in the paper. We've had presentations like you should be able to recite it from memory by now. So that's going on. Garrison Pond. They were supposed to treat it last Friday. They lower the water a foot before they do, because it's a law. You can't let the stuff that they had flow out for 24 hours. They didn't come. They weren't there today, so I'm not sure when they're coming, but the lake has a significant amount of growth on it now. I mean, we have to treat it, and we'll just hope that the swans are well enough ahead. And there's a lot of stuff there now. There's wood ducks, a lot of new wildlife there. There's an osprey out there, too. In the continuing 150-year anniversary of the town of Highlands, The Way We Were was presented by Ronnie Coffey at the library last Saturday at noontime. She was dressed in time-relevant attire, and she mentioned some interesting facts. It was really great and it was well attended. Back in 1872, there was a horse pandemic. Half the horses in the country were not alive, they were dying. So Buttermilk Falls, people walked. There were 37 states at that time. Ulysses S. Grant was president, and people went to meetings in Cornwall by boat. The Republicans took one boat, and the Democrats took another boat. I thought that was interesting. The next event she's going to have is a pub crawl, which I think is around the 4th of July. I don't know the date yet. I'm almost done. The Patriot Garden, last Friday night, the Fort Montgomery Fire Department, I want to thank them. They answered a call to help Doris Lent. She was down there alone planting and mulching. Greg Marr, Tyler Walker, Lexi, Zachary, Richie Salva, Beth Laurie, and Doris were down there, and we were joined by a brand new baby deer. It was still a little bit moist on the outside. Its mother was afraid to come over. There was a baby deer in there helping us out. And finally, my friend from high school, his name is Peter Ford, asked me to do this, and there's a reason for it. His father was a chaplain to the Corps of Cadets for many years, and then he became the chaplain to the U.S. Congress. They're having a reunion for a site that I can't remember. It's called You Know You Lived in or by West Point, New York, If You. So they're doing some things, and I'm not going to discuss everything except for one thing, which is at 8:30 to 10:30 on Saturday, June 4th, in the Eisenhower Room at the Hotel Thayer, the Association of Graduates is briefing on their outreach to the town of Highlands. And I told him I wouldn't read that if only that group could go to it. He said everybody's invited, public officials, whoever wants to go to it. So the AOG is going to make some type of presentation in the Eisenhower Room at the Hotel Thayer. I told him I'd give it a plug, and that's my report.
Thank you, sir. Getting back to Garrison Pond, I just happened to notice today going by, now I don't know, ducks, geese, whatever, but there were two large ducks, and must have been a half a dozen babies lined up perfectly between the two. I mean, it was amazing. It was almost like they had a piece of string lining them up. That was nice. That was really nice.
There's
Anyway,
a lot of ecology going on there, so thank you.
Councilman King.
Yes, thank you. Great rundown, by the way. Fabulous. Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Unfortunately, I will not be as lengthy as my colleague, or fortunately for some. But he was thorough. I have a few notes here. One is the Town of Highlands Community Coalition. Next monthly meeting is Wednesday, June 1st, 2022, of course. And that's 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the center of Highland Falls at 274 Main Street, Highland Falls, New York, for those who don't know the address. It's open to the community. And also, Saturday the 28th, the Community Coalition will have an information table at the market on 401 Main Street, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So that's the notes I got from those guys. Additionally, we full swing on the planning for the Juneteenth celebrations coming up this year. As you know, last year it was made a national holiday. After many years that we are here in the town, we're already celebrating, so the rest of the country caught up with us last year, and we're glad to see that. So what we're going to do is continue on with try to have 4 days worth of activities, starting with the June 17th, which is a Friday. We were trying to resurrect the Veterans Resiliency All-White Affair. Everybody knows that's where we wear white attire to remember our fallen veterans, and we promote this idea of resilience, the ability to bounce back, and then that's a direct strategy to combat veteran suicide. So we had to take a pause for the last 2 years, like most things during the pandemic. This year it will be different. We're looking at just coming together as a meet and greet on that Friday night, possibly at the rooftop of the Thayer Hotel at the Zulu Lounge. No ticket sales or anything, just wear your white, meet us there, and then we'll identify 2 or 3 or 4 veterans to say they are the Resiliency Award winners for this particular year. Still developing that concept. The next day is Saturday, the 18th, which is our parade that we'll do traditionally down Main Street. We have already confirmation that the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club West Point chapter will once again attend and lead that particular parade. And there's others, and we want to invite others whoever want them, organizations, clubs, family members. If you want to get a banner, come out and walk. Senior citizens who want to get in their car and wave as we go down the street. This is a opportunity for anybody who wants to participate to come on out and join us at that event. The third thing would be, now before I move on to the third thing, because we're going to go down Main Street as usual, but we culminate at Memorial Park. And at Memorial Park, we do what's called a flag raising ceremony where the Juneteenth flag goes up and we have a keynote speaker. And then we have some other acknowledgments. And then we end with, in this case, last year was a DJ. This year is going to be a DJ again. The incredible DJ John Flynn is on the docket. He might not even know until he sees this thing. So come out to that. But then Sunday, we want to do a praise and worship service where we once again bring in a featured pastor from, he's originally from Jackson, Mississippi. He's studying out in Denver, Colorado now. Pastor Tomas Adams has been joining us every year here in Highland Falls since, I want to say 2016. And so every year he flies in and comes and does a great service. Since the last time he's been here, he's been doing a Saturday night service where St. John members and St. Mark's members of Highland Falls plug into the phone, and then others in Boston and some other places also join us. The reason why that's been important, because during the pandemic, most of you know, or many of you may know, that some churches, if not all, were closed, and they were maybe doing virtual of some sort. So we had people sick and shut in and couldn't even go to church. So the way we tackled that and try to uplift them was through a conference call that Pastor Tomas was leading. And so he'll come in and do that Sunday, June 19th, praise and worship. And then the culmination is Monday. The national holiday will be observed on Monday this year, so it makes it a 4-day weekend for most. And then here in the town of Highlands, the center has organized a trip from Highland Falls to Philadelphia, the Heritage Museum. It's going to be a fabulous time. You pay one price, you get a round trip ticket, you get a full all-you-can-eat buffet, and then you get to see some history there in Philadelphia that pertains to the Juneteenth celebration. Sounds like a good deal. I may be on that bus. And then they come back home. So 4 days worth of events, folks, and still looking for volunteers. And you can reach out to either the center or myself for that matter. The last thing I will say is that firms, in terms of emergency management, we were talking in the last few days about the heat index. So for those who were somewhere and didn't get to experience it, on Saturday it was like 95 degrees, I think it was.
Thereabouts.
On Sunday, it was probably just a little bit cooler, but it was still up there. And so those types of temperatures are dangerous. And so just so you know that our emergency management coordinator was talking about how to combat that type of heat, particularly if you got folks that don't have AC and things of that nature, or your refrigerator would somehow go out, because the Walmart over in Monroe, they had an issue where the freezers and the coolers throughout the store broke down. And so that just shows you how that, they had to remove all the food that could have been spoiled and so forth. So, folks, keep your eyes on the Town of Highlands webpage. We'll give you updates in regards to emergency situations. And if anybody has any critical needs, reach out to myself or reach out to Kurt Hahn, or for that matter, anybody that's up here on this board. And that's all I have, Supervisor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman DeWitt.
Thank you, sir. First of all, Rich, I want to say you're not a dinosaur. I mean, diamond maps, come on, man, you're stepping up in the 21st century pretty damn good. Anyway, wanted to start out by saying congratulations to the Highlanders. Seniors celebrated their 50th anniversary last week. They are sponsoring a trip, day on the Circle Line down in New York City. If anybody's interested, see the Highlanders Facebook page. I believe it's only $40 for the day. It's a bus ride. Is there a lunch? No, but bus ride and the trip around, the full trip around Manhattan. and that's on June 14th. So if anybody's interested, you can reach out to, look on the Highlanders page on Facebook for information. Want to shout out to Aaron Falk for fully training the lifeguards this weekend at Long Pond. They are ready to open for Memorial Day. Full staff of lifeguards. They worked hard. I think they were there to 10 o'clock
Wow.
last night. I don't know exactly what they were doing in the dark, but they were doing something. But they Aaron and crew put a lot in getting lifeguards. It's been hard to find and hire people for all kinds of jobs. So we're happy to say Long Pond's going to be up and running full strength. Some things going on at the center here. Just tomorrow, Community Speaks. Did you mention that, Ty? I was tomorrow from 7:15, 8 o'clock. Guest speaker, Interim Superintendent Michael McElduff from the HF School District will be speaking. The Town of Highlands History Group on June 1st at the American Legion Hall from 7 to 8. History shared by John Gunza and Michael Graber. The two of them are obviously, they're just, and they're like walking encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And a couple of notes, every Monday from 1 to 3 is the Happy Hookers Knitting Group at the center here on Main Street. And there's book lending. Family Day at Long Pond's coming up, summer enrichment program on Monday, July 18th from 11 to 2 p.m. So some events, again, stop in the center on Main Street, talk to Ann Molina or whoever's working, Rich, Faqs, somebody's usually always in there hanging out and happy to share information on a lot of programs. What else we got? Last but not least, broken record again, but this is a great event, the Electronics Recycling Day, coming up June 11th from 8 in the morning to noontime in Lot 2. That's the one across from Sacred Heart School. And again, anything with a computer board in it, bring it up. TVs, appliances, whatever you got. This is the one day a year you get a chance to bring it, and it gets taken away for free, especially televisions. You can't put them out to the curb anymore. We cannot take them. So it's a great program. Please clear out your junk, electronic junk. Bring it to Lot 2 on Saturday, June 11th. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, do you have something for us?
Yeah, just one thing, sir. So it was brought to my attention yesterday that there was some sarcastic message about Mine Road written on one of the Facebook pages. I don't monitor it, so I don't know, but just wanted to bring to light that that situation was on Saturday. So now that the weather's warmer, our officers are patrolling Mine Road. There is no parking there. If you park there, you get a summons. We know that people are accessing the trail to go to Hellhole and parking their cars there. And if they are in an area that we deemed it's dangerous, we'll tow them as well. But this situation Saturday, which was written about, there was some cast a comment about maybe the officer had something better to do. The officer that was there encountered some folks that gave him such a hard time about the parking. He called the village for backup. He was leaving to go get additional summonses and then responding back because 2 cars were damaged. So I think as quick as it is to write a comment on social media, it's even quicker to send me an email. My email is listed right on the website. And if not, you can pick up the phone and call me. And if it's a name and number for the chief, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, myself or the deputy chief will return the phone calls. So I can assure you that as much as the comment was made that he had something better to do, he was handling calls for service on Mine Road like they will every shift. So again, I'm going to hit the keyboard, send me an email. We'll answer it, I can guarantee you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chief.
Chief.
Thank you. Deputy Chief, you have anything? No? Justin, you have anything?
No, sir.
Kelly, do you have anything? Well, while I'm talking to Kelly, I want to thank you very much. Kelly is our camera operator tonight, as if she doesn't have enough to do. I thank you very much.
You're welcome.
While I'm thanking people, Brian, I always massacre his name, Sukanik, and his company Neighbors. They deserve a lot of thank yous from the town, the beautification that they do in and around the town, down at Mindock Park, that triangle out in front of Richie's Restaurant, the long strip of flowers in front of the parking lot in Fort Montgomery. all of this is done without asking for a thank you or a dollar. He's not asking for anything. I had a little situation where I had to hire his company, the neighbors, to do 1 day's worth of work down at Mindock Park because it was kind of getting out of hand. And I'm not saying anything bad about the highway department, but they've got 3 cemeteries that are overgrown. They've got a lot of work to do to catch up and get things squared away for the summer. So I asked Brian's company to go down and do some work, and I made it very clear that I meant to pay them. Well, he kind of said to me, no, don't worry about it. Well, I said, no, I am going to worry about it. I've got the money, we're going to pay you, all I need is a bill. So, and they did a real nice, quick job down there, because I wanted to kind of get it done before this weekend, and they did. I think they were down there Saturday afternoon or night working down there. So thank you, Brian. We have on the agenda a resolution to sign a contract with West Point. I haven't seen a contract. Have you, Justin?
So it was my understanding that this resolution pertains only to the agreement on lifeguards.
Do you have that? I haven't seen that either.
Yes, sir. It's sort of a purchase order from the Department of the Army.
All 50 pages here?
Well, about 27 of those are stapled onto each of their contracts, with
Okay.
their general terms and conditions. But this particular agreement is a straightforward agreement for the town of Highlands to provide lifeguard services during the initially weekends at Long Pond, and then once the summer season opens, daily, and the Department of the Army will pay you $7,200 for that.
Okay. I have a resolution to authorize the supervisor to sign this agreement with the Department of Army for Long Pond lifeguards. Do I have a motion to move the resolution?
Motion.
Second? Just a quick discussion?
Any discussion?
Yeah. So I read through it, I don't know, a week ago, whatever, and I'm all for it, except an Aaron nebulously answered in an email that I sent out that everybody should have seen, that the hours, I think, were going to be 11 to 5 rather than 10 to 6. I don't know if they stop lifeguarding at 5 until people get out of the water, that's one thing. I don't know if that means on a Sunday night people can stay there till 6, till 7. I don't know that that's really answered in here. They're talking about lifeguard duties here, so.
Yeah, that's not defined by this agreement. I mean, my recollection of Aaron's comments when he came before you was that certainly the pavilion and other resources would be able to stay
Available.
open.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
dictating
Okay.
lifeguard hours.
So, I'm on board.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the park on certain weekends and what have you will be open later than the swimming area. Is there somewhere in this thing I sign?
There is.
Okay, all right, we'll take care of that later. First of all, the resolution, roll call, please.
Councilman Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilman McKay,
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt,
Aye.
Supervisor Lewis.
Aye. Okay, I think, Councilman, who are you?
Dr.
The guy that
Technology.
talks a lot, okay?
Frank, I think you're, even though maybe you're not liaison to recreation, but what are we doing about the scoreboard? I noticed a lot of emails from you.
So I think we talked about it a little bit. There might have been an email. In short, with the scoreboard, this was sort of my brainstorm. So in the last year and a half, the snack stand up there got smacked. The electric line was ripped off. The village paid for that repair. It's their building anyway. Little League uses it. It's their field. So I thought that was a nice gesture on their part. Here's what I learned. The Little League has about $7,000 right now in their coffers, in their funds, and they give that money to Kelly, and she writes the checks on their behalf. Is that correct? So it's safe and sound in her escrow account. What I didn't know, and Ponytail, I think, has about $5,000 in their coffers. What I didn't know, and this has only happened from the time that you and I used to coach and umpire, is they're all paid now. It was on volunteer back when we were there. So they pay the umpires out of their coffers. So this scoreboard thing was a $6,000 donation. Kathy Woodard's brother, I can't remember his name. I want to say it was Bobby. Do you remember his brother's name? Her brother's name? He died some time ago, and the family donated that sign, and Jimmy Rip installed it. I'm going to say at about $6,000 is what it costs. They've been using it. They have a hard time getting kids to sit up on the rocks at the wire because it's only 20 feet away from the sign. They became defective. I was there on opening day and it wasn't working. And that's what brought this whole thing up. I questioned it. So they went to this wireless option, which is $1,700. So a kid or an adult can be anywhere, even in a dugout, using it to keep score. And I said it would be nice if Little League put up some money and if we put up the rest. So I think that there's no problem with them putting up $500 or $600. And I just thought I saw a letter in the paper this week saying that the town should spend more money on recreation. I'm not really affected by all that much, except that people do say that, and this is a chance for us to help out the Little League. The village helped them out last year. I think it'd be nice if we took a turn doing so also. So if we were to put up, out of the 1,700, if they put up 600 and we cover the rest, I think the money's there from my conversation with Kelly, and I don't think it would be a bad idea. And I think he's already sent it out to be altered.
I think I read somewhere where it's due back today or tomorrow. or the-
Yeah, yeah.
So would you like to offer a motion?
I'll make the motion that the town cover the balance of the $1,722 bill after Little League puts up 600.
Have a second?
Second.
Any conversation? No? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Very good, gentlemen, thank you. Now, for the expenditure for the road fund, is there anything more than this? And you send the stuff, I just,
Making me look bad today, Supervisor.
you know what it is? I get about 30 to 40 emails every day, and sometimes, all right, if I miss doing it, if I miss doing it one day, I got 50 or 60 emails to go through.
I understand entirely, and this one did come later because, it was sort of a late addition to the agenda, so.
You sent it out on Friday, I believe.
So yes, you have a very straightforward resolution, subject to permissive referendum, but to expend up to $53,000 for crack sealing throughout the town in their roadways. You have a reserve fund for that, but because that's not a specific type of reserve, it's subject to permissive referendum. So the little piece is for Leslie to sign and submit to the paper tomorrow, should you pass the resolution.
Okay, and the company that he's going to hire, it's $53,000 to, I'm sure everybody's seen that, where you got these zigzag lines on the roads where they're filling up the cracks in the roads so it doesn't get filled up with ice in the wintertime and mess up the roads. This company is going to come in and they are going to do the whole job, including flag people. Chief, including flag people. So if they don't have flag people out there, we're going to get on them. All right, okay. So, this won't put our highway department, our overburdened highway department, into any extra work. So I'll ask for a motion to move the resolution.
Motion.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Aye.
Supervisor Lucy.
Aye.
Is that just Fort McGovern?
Yes. Yeah.
All the side roads and
Yeah.
everything, not like everything else?
Right. Not 9W, yes, absolutely. I think that's all I have.
Although, Mary Jane, we're thinking about going down doing Popple Open Bridge ourselves.
Just cracks fill the
I'll stay on top, you go under. We'll work it that way. We'll be a team. It's better than what they're doing now. Okay. Everybody, Olga, you have anything for us? No, you just enjoy being here and,
Well, I will have something, but it's still percolating.
I mean, but we're about to adjourn, so.
You forgot,
no,
you forgot one thing, Mr. Supervisor.
No, I didn't, but go ahead.
You did. I went to the Ponytail opening day, and this guy threw a change up that Aaron could barely handle. Excellent first pitch.
Well, I
Nice.
didn't want to hurt the kids, so I bounced it to her. Okay, the chief asked for a 5-minute executive session, which will give him 20 minutes, 30 minutes, because we know the chief. But instead of us going downstairs to my hot office, I'd like us to just stay right up here.
Okay.
So after we go into executive session, we will not come back to a regular meeting. So I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So Leslie and